What's up, guys? Tim Little. Welcome back to Tactical Bass, and today we are talking fall finesse fishing. Really how to slow down and maximize the areas you're fishing and catch more bass. Today we're talking plastic worms, drop shot, shaky heads, finesse fishing, small swim baits, tubes, Neko rigs. We got it all for you. Let's get started. Fall finesse fishing. You might ask, why would you slow down in fall? You know, these fish are grouped up. They're chasing large schools of bait fish. You could really get after them power fishing, throwing a lot of reaction baits, which is very true. Hopefully you guys got a chance to check out last video where Matt and Ross went out on the lake and they jacked them early in the morning on frogs, and then the bite was done. Well, today I'm gonna cover some techniques that you could really slow down and finesse fish those same fish and get them to bite. You know those fish are there, you know where they're gonna be at, they've shut down on the reaction stuff. Now you can really pick it apart with these baits I'm gonna give you today, these techniques to catch those fish. So if you're in a tournament situation or you're just out on the lake and you're just having, you're not catching fish, these techniques today will definitely help you put those fish in the boat that won't necessarily commit to the reaction baits. Now, just like the last video, the biggest fish of their entire day came on a drop shot, a finesse bait. Even though they were catching them on frogs and reaction baits, fall fishing, these fish are schooled up. You know, they got bait fish backed up in coves. They're looking to feed up for the winter. Well, when that is not going off, when the bombs aren't dropping, the blow-ups aren't going off, and those fish are just down there just hanging out, chilling, finesse fishing is where it's at. It's how you're going to get those fish to not necessarily commit, but you're going to get them to eat those slower presentations in their face, those easier presentations. Now, drop shots, you guys know that I love finesse fishing, especially clear water. You know, the fall transition can be a little tricky. We've already covered where these fish are going to be at, right? They're going to be either super shallow in the backs of coves pushing bait, or they're going to be out on the ledges, on the breaks. But the main thing is bait. They're going to be following bait balls. So whatever type of bait you have in your body of water, that's what you got to match the hatch to. That's what you got to try and really mimic. So drop shotting, we'll start off with that. This time of year, I really like to change up the types of baits that I throw on a drop shot. Hopefully you guys got to check out some of our underwater footage of some of these drop shot baits. This is actually the Flirt. That bait was phenomenal underwater, but you can see it's a little bit smaller presentation than a normal drop shot worm. I really like to switch over to smaller profile baits during the fall transition because they are keyed into smaller bait. Here on Clear Lake, we're talking shad. So I like to throw baits that really mimic shad. You can do that with a small swim bait. Just nose hook a small swim bait. Another bait that I really like to throw, this guy right here, this is the Demiki. That's the armor shad. Another robo worm, the alive shad, and just a 4.5 inch kind of shad colored bait. Again, you'll see kind of the same similarities in all these smaller profile. You're going after that bait fish profile. Sure, you can still catch them on a 6-inch trick worm or robo worm or net bait. You know, we like that bait as well. But this time of year, for me personally, I really like to downsize and fish shad style drop shot baits. Again, these are going to be rigged, you know, 5 to 8 pound fluorocarbon with a owner mosquito light hook or a trocar drop shot hook. You guys know that that's typically the setups that we run. Another key component is going to be your tungsten drop shot weight. If you guys can afford that, instead of lead, throw that tungsten. You guys will have more feel and get that sensitivity that you lack with lead. So drop shotting, again, fall time, you know where these fish are going to be. They're going to be on that harder structure. If you can find a rock point right near the back of a cove where it has hard bottom, you know, the grass is dying, right? As that water gets cooler, the air gets cooler, the vegetation starts pulling back, dying off, and those fish pull out of it. They move to that real hard bottom, that rock, gravel. So if you can find that hard bottom near back of a cove where they can push bait in, that is perfect. The benefit of finesse fishing this time of year, once you know the area that you're fishing, that structure that you're fishing, you don't have to cover a lot of water. If you got that key area where there's bait, you got that hard bottom, now you can really slow down and finesse fish and get those fish to commit when the bite is turned off, like I said before. So the drop shot, you got a real small gravel area next to the back of a cove. Now you can fire that drop shot out. You can really pick that key structure apart and get those fish to commit, because 9 times out of 10, those big ones are just down there being lazy. They're letting all the little ones do the work, and as the bait falls and dies, you can catch some of the biggest fish in that entire school being lazy down on the bottom below. Now sure, a flutter spoon, a lipless crank, that all works, but again, we're trying to catch those fish when the bite is not wide open, when they are not turned on and triggered. So a drop shot, a phenomenal bait. Again, play around with some swim baits. You can throw a 2.8 or a 3.8 Kitech. You can throw, I got so many baits out here for you. Again, size down on your worms, go to like a 4.5-inch worm, and look at some of these baits. Like I said, the Demiki is a really cool bait fish profile. Works great on spots, smallmouth, and largemouth. The next bait that I want to talk about is going to be the shaky head. Again, a bottom contact bait. You know where these fish are. If they're up under docks, they're in that shade line, all you have to do is fish each piling. You don't have to fish all out around the dock. As that grass dies off or that vegetation dies off, those fish are pulling to that hard cover, stuff that holds heat longer and will last through the winter. Take a shaky head, fish in docks, same thing with a drop shot, and fish those pilings. Fish each individual piling, fish the shade corner from the dock. Again, it's a fall transition from summertime, so the water is not cold yet. So you can still get those fish that are gonna pull off of that structure and sit in that shade line just for that camouflage to hide, to be able to ambush fish. So every piling, and then fish the shade corners. And a shaky head is just a different presentation, a great presentation for those fish if you don't want to throw the drop shot. The last worm technique I want to talk about is going to be the Neko rig. Now, I love the Neko rig. It's a different presentation, has different action. For those of you that aren't familiar with what a Neko rig is, you take your favorite 5-inch worm or 5-inch stick bait, either a Senko. This one's actually the Z-Man, the Zinker Z, I believe. It's got that Elastec plastic, lasts a lot longer than your normal plastic. But my favorite way to rig these, I actually use the G7 system. It's a plier system with some clear, thicker O-rings. And what that allows me to do, I take this real thick plastic kind of O-ring, and I open that up. These pliers open up, you stick the bait in from the back, and you can thread this thing on. It works with normal O-rings as well. And then I will take a size 1 mosquito light hook or a trocar hook and rig it like this. And I do rig a nail weight in it. So that's what makes it different from a normal wacky rig. 2 things actually. It's got the weight in the head, and these things hold it. I really like this. This is actually a tungsten nail weight. Just like every video, I will link all this stuff down below in the video description for you, because I'm sure I'm going to fly through a lot of it. You don't have to take notes. Everything will be linked with good HD pictures. But this is a tungsten weight, and you can see just the aggressive edges on it. It really holds in the plastic. So when those fish come up and shake the head and shake the bait, it won't throw your tungsten out. But you put that right in the head. This is actually a 16th ounce. Sometimes I'll go up to an 1/8 ounce. But how this is gonna fish, this is gonna be down on the bottom. You're gonna be shaking that rod. Again, you're fishing that real specific hard bottom structure. and this tail is going to be up here dancing. It's just a larger profile, and you know, this is what I caught that world record catfish on last fall. I was actually out on a reservoir out here in Northern California and fired out the Neko rig and caught that that world record catfish on it, and a 6-pound test. But again, finesse fishing does not necessarily mean small fish. So don't be stubborn. Don't be afraid to try it, because I guarantee you guys this will increase your fish production. So a Neko rig. One thing I want to mention about all of these baits: do not get crazy on color. Keep it very, very, very simple. I typically go with a shad colored bait or a baitfish bait, either like electric shad or a natural shad or a pro blue red pearl, so that baitfish, that shad kind of color, or I will go natural like a green pumpkin or like a green pumpkin purple copper flake, something of that goby color like this, something that has like that little more contrasty in the water, a little more natural. So baitfish, electric shad, natural shad, something like that, little clearer bait, really represents or mimics baitfish well. And then I'll go with like a green pumpkin, purple, blue, something like that in that green pumpkin color in all of these baits. You don't have to go crazy. So again, the Neko rig, drop shot, shaky head, all different presentations, worm presentations to get those fish to commit. Now, the next couple presentations I want to talk about is going to be your bottom contact baits. Now, I'm not going to talk about jigs because I feel like that's its own separate category, and I'm not going to talk about bigger swim baits or underspins. Tube fishing bait. I have two different style of tubes for you. This is a little 3-inch dry creek tube, and this guy right here, this is the Big Bite Baits tour tube. Different type of tube. We really like to throw these in that clear water reservoirs, smallmouth fisheries. Different head. It's got the big bite me big dude head in it. It's just a fatter head, more of the weight forward, so it falls differently than a head that has the weight all the way down or farther down the shank of the hook. You know, this bait right here has, or this hook right here has, it's a lot more top heavy, a lot more head heavy, if that makes sense. You can fish it more, hop it more radically off the bottom, and it just has a different fall. But tube fishing, especially you smallmouth guys, it's a bait that you can catch a lot of fish and catch some of the biggest fish because of that hop and then that spiral down, that dying bait fish action. Out here on the West Coast, I really like throwing the Dry Creek tube. This is a 3.5 tube. Again, simple colors. I throw it. My absolute favorite color is Old Ugly. Tackle Warehouse now carries it. It's just a do nothing iridescent green, real natural color, and then a brown, kind of a goby color. I'll throw that in there as well. But again, we're talking slowing down, finesse fishing, and tubes. It's just a different presentation than a shaky head or a drop shot. So don't be a sleeper. Don't forget about throwing a tube. I did bring some swim baits, just a couple key swim baits, finesse fishing swim baits that I want you to try out, because again, this time of year, those fish are hungry. They're looking to feed up. As those bait fish are dying and falling down, a little swim bait like this, just creeped on the bottom, banging through that rock, can be magical. Some of my favorite, the Mega Bass Dark Sleeper. Comes in several different sizes. Look how itty bitty this little guy is. This is a 3-inch. This is a 3-inch Easy Shad Kitech. Look how small that little Mega Bass is. Again, a finesse swim bait, real stout hook in it, but you can stick giants on it. Matt and I, we played around with the Dark Sleeper in the Midwest, the Great Lakes this year, and had a ball. Caught a ton of fish on these little guys right here. Again, you're not casting and just reeling. You're not covering a lot of water. You can do that with your reaction baits. I'm talking about finesse fishing these swim baits. So fire it out there, let it hit bottom, and just creep it. As the thing's just, you can even drag it just enough to get that tail kicking and get those fish to commit. So finesse swim baits, again, you can go with your 2.8 Kitech on a little 1/8 ounce guppy head or a 1/4 ounce guppy head. Play around with the Easy Shad. It's a different swim bait than the Swing Impact Fat. Tighter, kind of wobble, not as aggressive kick on the tail. It's just something different. And then these two guys right here, the Dark Sleeper, and I talked about it earlier, the this guy, I don't think I brought him. This is the Armor Shad, but it actually comes in a, this is a little fork tail, but also comes in a paddle tail. It is money as well. So those baits you guys really try out for finesse fishing swim baits. Again, the benefit of this, you don't have to go put your trolling motor on high and cover a ton of water. Now you know where these fish are at. You can't catch them on reaction. You're gonna slow down and try and catch the biggest fish, the laziest fish in that school. The last bait that I wanna talk about, how do you talk about finesse fishing without talking about the Ned rig? This guy right here, I have it rigged with that tungsten Ned head by Swagger Tackle. Phenomenal Ned head. You got tungsten, so you got a smaller profile. It's a denser material, so you have better contact with the bottom. Real stout hook. I have that paired up with a Missile Baits Ned Bomb. Again, real natural color, real shad, baitfish color, and it's pretty hard to get more finessey than a Ned rig. It's been proven throughout the country. It catches a lot of fish. It catches big fish. This fall time, don't be afraid if you go out on the lake and you're struggling. Maybe you didn't get up at the crack. Maybe you missed that early morning reaction bite and you just want to go out and catch fish. Don't be afraid to slow down, use your electronics, find that hard bottom, find long tapering points, breaks, where those fish are gonna get ready to winter. If you can't find the shad balls or you can't find the fish in the back throwing or blowing up on shad or baitfish, whatever you have in your fishery, go out a little bit deeper, find that hard bottom and try these techniques. Fall is a phenomenal time to get out and catch a lot of fish. Again, they are hungry, the water is still warm, so the fish are very active and they are looking to get fat, feed up for winter time. But don't be a sleeper on the finesse fishing, because more times than not, it has saved my butt when I've had a bad day out on the water. I pull out the spinning rod and just put a hurting to them with the finesse techniques. But these baits right here, I will link everything down below in the video description. Each technique, I will list the color of baits I like, which baits I like, because I didn't cover a lot of baits, and I will cover the terminal tackle like hooks and weights and O-rings, all that good stuff. But the real key to catch them this time of year, finding where those fish are going to be at and really picking them apart. Don't be afraid to throw a spinning rod, and you guys are going to have a blast. If you guys have any questions, please leave them down below in the comment section. We will try to get to those. And if you haven't already, if you guys are new to the channel, please subscribe and turn on notifications. We do 3 videos a week for you, strictly teaching to help you guys catch more and bigger bass. As always, guys, we appreciate you. Have a good one.